All right, what's going on? We're back for another live episode of the Ragni Show. I am super freaking excited. I am stoked, and I can't wait to talk to. Let's see if I can do it right. I did it right. Talk to the guy next to me here. It's been, it's been. I think it's been half a decade since the last time we talked, and we were just saying we didn't have Zoom. We were doing everything over the phone. So let's welcome to the show Mr. Paul Van V of the band TubeFreeks out of Maryland and kicking the world's ass with this new freaking tune.
What's happening, Bay? I
Dude,
really
dude,
appreciate you having
dude.
me on. It's
Dude,
great
I
to
am.
see you again.
You too, man. You know what? Like I said, it's been like 5 years since that last interview we did. But I remember, and I still, every time I see your stuff pop up on Facebook, I just always remember. I'm like, man, we hit it off so good that time, and just talked and BS and just had a great conversation. And it was one of them ones like when, in all honesty, I was probably like going into it, and I was like, who knows what it's going to be? You don't know. And then you walk away with it. I'm like, that was fucking awesome. That was so good.
Well, a couple of mid-Atlantic boys, we probably grew up with the same type of environments.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when this new video and song came out, and I watched the video, and I was just blown away. And I'm still, you know, I'm still saying it's one of my top 5 songs from the year from anybody, any artist that's put music out this year. I can't stress enough how much I love that song.
Oh, man. All I can say is thank you for the kind words. We're so excited to hear that. You always try and put your best foot forward whenever you're putting out music. All musicians do that, and so you can get to the point where you say, hey, I like it myself, or we like it ourselves, but
Hmm.
until you have other people that it resonates with and they like it, a lot of times you're like, well, and so that just makes us feel awesome to hear that you really like it and that you
Dude,
like it that much. It means a ton to us.
it, it's like it's like one of them songs you hear that just like, first off, it's like the picture perfect song. It's 3 minutes in and out, kicks you in the nuts. It freaking rocks. You got a wailing guitar solo, and you got just you freaking just controlling the whole room. It's like, oh my god, this is what music is supposed to be about.
Well, thanks, brother. The that's the first of 12 songs that are on this new album that we're really excited about, and I can get into more about how we worked it with the guys, but we just felt that song, we really like everything on the album, but we thought that one was a good attention grabber to put
Hmm.
out there as the first song, just for the reasons that you talked about, because it's hard hitting, and it drives from the minute it starts, and
Yeah.
it never lets up. And of course, the vocals are cool and everything. I'm a singer, but I gotta be honest. When I listen to that song, I just love those leads that our guitar player Rob
Killing
Portillo.
it.
Yeah, he did the one right after that first chorus that just brings you into the second chorus, and it's just so sweet the way he ends it. Woo! And then the main lead is killer, and then there's
Hmm.
one at the end. Uh, so it was so funny. One guy on Facebook, he commented, he's like, man, you guys only had 3 leads on that song. He's like, couldn't you have done some more? I was like, why didn't we think of that?
Right? Freaking
No,
Facebook.
but we
You
don't
gotta
we
love
don't
people.
think of it. We don't think of it that way, as like, well, there's 2 leads or 4 leads. We just look at it like, okay, well, where would a lead be good? and
Yeah.
fill up some
Yeah.
space. And so I really love the
All right.
leads.
So now the first,
Oh, look at that kitty.
and we have a co-host now.
Yeah, look at that baby.
So the first thing, naturally, so that I notice is, now the last time we talked, the Tube Freaks had 5 guys. Now
Uh-huh.
it's 3. So I'm like, where'd half the band go? What's going on? What? And you guys could have been kind of like, So I had to look. I'm like, well, that was like 2017 or something. Last time we talked, I'm like, did they do anything after that? And I saw you guys were playing up through 2019. So then I'm guessing
Right.
the
Right.
world of the pandemic changed everything.
Well, it did. And there were some other things too. So there's kind of a lot to unwrap in your question. And so the the last album we did when we talked was called The Dry Tide.
Okay.
And believe it or not, I actually played the bass on that album.
Okay.
And I had actually played the bass also on the previous album we did around 2010, Complex Disorders. So the
Okay.
last 3 albums have all been recorded as trios.
Oh.
So, right, the Dry Tide was myself, our guitarist Brian Murray, and our drummer was Jeff Burrell at the time, who'd been with Tube Freaks for forever, since day one.
Okay.
And recorded all of our previous material. Brian was new to the group at that point. And so what happened was right at the time that we finished the recording, we had a couple of guys that came on live to play with us.
Okay.
And so they joined forces with us. And so they're actually on the album cover that's out there now.
Mm-hmm.
But down the road, we might even reissue that because it really was just the 3 of us and the other players that were there. We were hoping that, they may be a part of the group going forward.
Okay.
It turns out that they weren't. And so they never really recorded anything with us, subsequent to that. And so fast forward, we had played a bunch of shows for 2 years. We played nationally, really.
Yeah.
All over the place. Texas, Florida, a bunch of times, Georgia, Alabama, a bunch, up and down the East Coast. And that was great. But right at about the time that it was a little before COVID, was when we just made some changes. Basically, I felt that the direction needed to be a little bit. I wanted to go heavier with the band.
Okay.
I felt that the last album was great. And I had put that together when I was actually sick. And so the songs are really cool. Still love those songs.
Mm-hmm.
But my feeling was that with the way things are these days and the people who like rock and kids and so forth, that I just felt that going heavier was the way to go. I see a lot of these bands at all these festivals and stuff, and just, I don't know, maybe it was, maybe I'm not even correct in what my, I mean, unless you're playing pop music or hip hop or something like that, which is just wildly popular. But if you're still playing rock, I felt like we really needed to have an edge. And so really, that's how the new guys came about. Well, the drummer, our previous drummer, Jeff, had retired after a number of years.
Okay.
And so Chris Bottolato, the drummer that we have now, I mean, I can go on and on about this guy. He's like amazing. It's been just a tremendous find and asset for the new band. I mean, I'd like to tell you more about him. But the guitar player, Rob Portillo, he and I actually have played in a metal band, kind of an underground band for a long time.
Okay.
We knew each other very well before he joined up. And Rob just has a classic background, but he loves the heavy stuff from Sabbath,
Mhm.
to Slayer on down the line. And so uh, these guys, I knew that they could put together something that was going to be really good from a musical standpoint, but also heavy. And so that's what we did.
So it basically kind of sounds like, I mean, the Two Freaks were no more at one point, and you put this whole thing, rebuilt the Tube Freaks basically.
Sort of, I would say that. The guys that had played live. So the guitar player that recorded the album with us, he had a newborn, and all of the touring that we were doing, he couldn't uh,
Right.
do that. And so then
Sure.
we had another guitar player come in. So really, the three of the five guys weren't even a part of the album or anything, and they were playing live with us, and they did a good job. But it came down to when Jeff retired, the drummer.
Hmm.
um, I had known Chris, and I asked him if he would like to come and write an album and put it together. And so he said he would. And so when he came on, we had conversations with the other live guys, but they just wanted to go into a different direction.
Right.
And so it was sort of a rebuilding, but it all kind of happened with retirements and babies, where it was
Right.
a little bit forced. Um, and so that's kind of the long answer to your question, but yes.
So did you, and for reasons like that, um, did you think to yourself, all right, we've done, uh, we've recorded the albums over the years as a three piece. Why not just keep it a three piece to kind of eliminate problems like that down the road and try to, because and I'm seeing more and more bands doing this, because I think this is the reason it's easier to try to maintain three guys than four or five guys.
Well, that's the thing, I mean, everybody knows how hard it is, like, to be in a relationship, like
Hmm.
with a boyfriend, girlfriend, or, your kids or whatever. The more people that you add, the more it just becomes exponentially hard to do basic things like
Right.
scheduling, let alone stuff like all agreeing on stylistic things and where we're going to go with, uh, you know, directions in terms of the music, but also how much are we going to play and how much are we going to try and be local, regional, or tour.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so absolutely. So that was what we did. We've had a lot of various players come and go. Now there is a flip side to that, is that obviously when you have a bigger sound, with additional players, more live, that can help.
Hmm.
A lot of bands these days will use backing tracks, and
Sure.
we don't really want to do that with guitars. A lot of our music is recorded where you would hear another guitar player like through the lead.
Hmm.
Um, and so there's real pros and cons to that. But boy, when it comes to writing and composing and recording, playing with three guys is just like a dream. It just makes it so easy.
So then the question I got to ask you now, as the singer, the singer slash frontman for all these years for these live shows, did it was it a concern for you now to now be kind of restricted with the bass in front of you? Did you put a lot of thought into that, or were you just kind of like, screw it, let's do it?
Well, right. So that's exactly the dilemma that goes into all of this stuff every time.
Yeah.
So I grew up as a drummer in a family of musicians. So my natural
Okay.
instruments are drums.
Okay.
Um, and so when Tube Freaks started way back when, I was recruited as a singer,
Mm.
and we had a great bass player. And so for years and all of the early stuff, Mike Stair was our original bass player. He was just phenomenal. And so when Mike left the group, it came down to, well, we could get another bass player, but people are hard to find, and more people are we already talked about having more people makes it more difficult. So I
Yeah.
picked up the bass probably about 20 years ago. And
Wow.
so was playing in several groups before I started back with Tube Freaks and recorded these 3 albums so far as the bassist. But to answer your question, it that's the problem though with being the lead singer
Hmm.
and the bass player is you have to use both of your hands to play
Yeah.
bass.
Yeah.
So you can't grab the microphone and run around and start pointing at people and start,
Right.
clapping and entertaining.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've always kind of gone back and forth. And where the other guys came in as live players, it was to free me up
Hmm.
to do what I've done for a long time, is to just be the singer.
Mm.
Right. So we've
Yeah.
kind of gone back and forth on that issue because it's one of those trade-off things, pros and cons, because it's great to be able to stand there and play the bass. You really feel like you're really engaged when you're
Right.
singing and playing. But you stand up, especially our music is a lot of vocals.
Hmm.
I'm standing in one place for the whole time, and I can't run around.
Right.
Right. So, it's just the flip side of the same coin. It's a trade-off.
So now that you've been doing some live shows like this, how is it for you? Is it was it difficult, especially the first couple shows you did, like being there behind the mic, standing there?
Yeah, I mean, there's always that nervousness, because that's just part of being a performer is butterflies. And I mean, I love that part of it because I love a challenge, and like I like to do things that are tough and that take a lot of work. And like these albums are insane amount of work went into this album, and so getting the songs down, it, being able to sing them and play them, especially when there are parts so that when there are parts that can be difficult to sing and play at the same time.
Mm,
So for the most part, it's fairly straightforward where the vocal will kind of fall in line and you can pick it up right away. But
right.
every once in a while, the vocal will be doing like a different timing than
Mm,
the bass is and is playing with the instruments.
right.
And so that's when it gets to be really challenging and really tough. So yeah, I'd say to answer your question, you know, it's definitely, gets the butterflies going. Great.
All right, so go. All right, let's go back to Release the Crow, the single video.
Sure.
What's the song about? What is the crow that's being released?
Well, it's sort of a metaphor to. Oh, by the way, I have my release the crow. I have a crow shirt on. You
Nice,
see that?
nice.
Right, right. Uh, the crow is, I guess, it's just really a metaphor to, set yourself free,
Mm,
sort of thing. You know, drown in the prophecy, disbelieve control, partition the rockets over, release the crow. So, you might think of the tensions that build up in your life,
mm.
and you're going through this, and then you come to the end of that chorus, and it's just let it all go. And so that's kind of sort of what it means.
And that's like the vibe of this, the feel of the song is you guys are just letting go. You're just letting it fly and letting it and just freaking killing it.
Yeah. And, also, I mean, I have a history of having lyrics that are somewhat abstract. I think we probably talked about this the last time, but I had this really impactful interview I heard with John Anderson, who's a singer from Yes, who I
Hmm.
loved their material, for years. He talked about how sometimes when lyrics can be more abstract, it can let the user kind of, or the listener, not the user, the listener, interpret them kind of their own way.
Right.
Um, Having said that, there's some songs on the new record where I'm trying to get a little more and kind of change that a little bit. But I think that the release the crow did sort of fall into that category a little bit, where some of it is abstract to where the meaning, you might, what might, how it might mean something to one person maybe is
Right.
different to another person.
Hmm. So you guys have an album coming up, which is called Unhinged. Now, how are you? You know, the music industry from 5 years ago when we talked has changed so much. You got some people that will do the old school 2, 3 singles and drop the album. You got people that will put a single out a month and then release an album a year later. What's your plan of attack?
Yeah, so probably more the former of what you said. We've already filmed two more videos that are coming out. We have two songs that we think are really good that are coming out. One of them is called Preacher Dog, and one of them is called The Casualty.
Hmm.
And those are just being mastered right now. Um, and so we filmed those videos. I also would like to talk about the mastering that we're having done. But so we're going to do at least three singles from the album with videos.
Okay.
And then we probably want to get the album out there so that everybody can hear all of the music, but then
Hmm.
maybe still follow it up with another video or two, or,
Sure.
you know, with however it works. Oh, sorry about that. We have, what was I going to say? We have this one song on the album that's really cool. It's called Dirty Rabbit. And
Okay.
it's really different. I'm sorry, well, I'm not going to answer that. So I guess it has to go to its voicemail or whatever it's going to do. Um, there we go. So this song, it's so funny. It talks about this rabbit, and we had these crazy ideas when we were writing it, where we named the parts of the song. So one of the names of the parts was a helicopter. One of them was the rabbit. One of them was called the cheese part. So we'd be like, okay, go from the helicopter, then go into the rabbit, then go into the cheese, and go back to the helicopter. So we were writing these parts, and then we were talking the other day. We're like, why don't we take all of this crazy stuff and turn it into like a Alice in Wonderland, animated video with like a rabbit flying around a helicopter or some crazy
Oh, that would
shit.
be hysterical.
Yeah, so we want to do some fun stuff like that with the back half of the album. We also
Okay.
have this song that's like kind of a parody on country living, and it talks about fun stuff that country people and like myself and a lot of people do. It's not meant to insult anybody. It's having fun with lifestyles, and so that song we could do some stuff. So yeah, we're gonna hopefully have a bunch of videos after we would drop the album, but probably three singles first.
Nice. Nice. I'm excited. Now, when's the album officially? What? How about the next single? When's that coming out?
Well, it's all just being mastered now, so probably like around August 1st. We'll give it about a 3-week rollout. So we've been working with this. Well, I can tell you about how we've recorded it and the mastering that we're doing at some point. I'd like to tell you about that.
Okay.
Yeah, well, so our drummer Chris is an amazing engineer. So
Okay.
talk about bonus, having a guy join your band who can record everything and has a fantastic ear, and he writes stuff. And so Chris has actually recorded and engineered and somewhat produced. I mean, we've all produced it, but he's been big in the producing of the album. So that includes Release the Crow. So
Okay.
he recorded that. And
Neat.
and then so he's just been amazing. It's really allowed us to put resources elsewhere when we were able to
Mm,
record it internally like that.
sure.
And so the mastering that we're having done, we're doing that with a guy. Well, he's in New Jersey, but he's also in Texas. His name is Machine, and
Mm,
he's Machine, the producer. He's done
okay.
some amazing stuff. He produced 3 of Clutch's albums,
Okay.
Earth Rocker, Pure Rock Fury, and one other one I forget. A couple of Lamb of God's albums, Head
Okay.
PE, and so he's been fantastic to work with. Where we've taken the mixes to him, and he just does like another set of ears, and has helped us with the mastering.
Mm,
And so we've really been excited to work with Machine, and Chris has just been fantastic, our drummer.
that's awesome, dude. So
And
now, when will the album come out?
I think probably around late September,
Okay.
October, because we'll
Okay.
put out the next single maybe August 1st, somewhere in that range. And then we'll give that maybe 5, 6 weeks. So about maybe early to mid September, we'll put out the next single and the next video. And then after that, we'll drop the album.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So now, how about live stuff? 'Cause, we mentioned earlier on. I mean, you guys were playing all around the freaking country. Is that going to be the plan again once this gets going, or are you going to stick more down to the Maryland area?
Well, that's a great question too, and it's tough. So we have a show coming up on July 16th,
Okay.
Saturday the 16th at the Baltimore Soundstage,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's going to be a great one. And so after that, we have some stuff that we're working on, and our strategy we think is going to be a little more on the regional front to start. So
Okay.
I think where we made maybe a mistake the last time was when we were going real far away. Some of the shows we weren't playing in front of many, if any, people,
Okay.
and that gets to be a real drain on
Sure.
everything, on
Absolutely.
everybody's psyche, and it
Hmm.
costs a lot, and everybody
Hmm.
has to take off from work to go do that. And
Right.
so what we're looking at doing, because we can't play too many times per year in our own home area, because then nobody will come
Fill
and
the
see.
area. Right.
Right. So what we want to do is look at a circle around, say, Maryland, to say, 4, 6, maybe 8 hours, and
Hmm.
do go out and try and do weekend shows. So we're looking at maybe Lynchburg, Roanoke, Morgantown,
Okay.
West Virginia, Pittsburgh, Harrisburg, Lancaster, Philly, up
Okay.
by you. I'd like to talk with you and come and play
I'm
Philly.
actually I'm down in Nashville now.
You're in Nashville?
I moved to Nashville like almost 3 years ago.
3 years? Oh, wow. Well,
Yeah.
Nashville. We played in Clarksville. That's a little bit far away, but we could
About
do
a
that.
45 to an hour. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, so that's going to be our strategy, is to try and do, regional, so that way it's like we're getting out and
Hmm.
playing, um, doing these touring shows, but not having to, being able to basically afford it more.
Yeah.
Now, that could change if, of course, we're always looking for opportunities to play with bigger bands and get in front of
Yeah.
bigger audiences. So if we ever had a chance to, say, tour with a group that, was a fantastic, opportunity, then
Hmm.
we would definitely consider doing that. But it just takes a lot, to get everybody to. I mean, everybody has to have a job these days, and
Yep.
unless you're like really big.
Yeah. Not many people in the music business are just doing music.
Yeah,
And if they're on the road, they're on their laptop working during the day to pay the bills and then playing at night.
Exactly. So if you can figure out how to do that, and so if the right opportunity came along, we think we could do that. But one thing too that's changed, I think, since the last time we talked is you used to be able to get more shows, I think, where nationals would come around
Hmm.
and let locals come open for them.
Yeah.
And you could get on those bills.
Hmm.
Where it seems that now, I guess the bands that are coming into their own, the up and coming bands, they
Hmm.
all realize that, hey, we want to be opening for, you know, whatever nationals are out there because they can get in front of these audiences.
Exactly.
And so, however it is that they work it out, it seems like almost all of the nationals that come around now already have a package together with like two, three, four
Yep.
bands.
Yep.
And so the locals can't get on those shows anymore like we used to.
Well,
And
because those bands are probably paying to get on those little tours, and the headliners are getting that money to help keep them on the road.
yeah, I mean, we've heard all kinds of stuff about that type of thing. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we,
I'll tell you. There's a band that I interviewed earlier this year. The singer, um, Patrick Stone of Butterside. They're out in L.A. He used to actually work for Motorhead, and Lemmy signed them to the Motorhead label. They were the first band signed the Motorhead label.
yeah,
Um, the way they're doing it now, I think is brilliant. And I just talked to him again last week. I think it was. Um, they're doing the whole new thing of a single a month with a video.
uh-huh.
And what they're doing is like you said, I don't want to go put us on a tour with a band driving around the country, spending all this money and expenses and traveling and gas and everything else, living in a van, and you get to a show and there's nobody there to play to. It's just going to it destroys you. It mentally beats you down and wears you down. He's like, so we're going to build it from home first to try to build up our fan base to make it sure it's going to be worth it, if it's even going to be worth it to go out at that point. So all they're doing is focusing on the music, the videos, and social media. And they're just freaking working the shit out of those three things.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes a lot of sense because for the reasons that you said.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. And plus, again, a reason why now you're down to three guys instead of five guys is the guys in his band. Some of them around on the like one plays with I think Dorothy, he said, and the two guys playing another band that are out on a pretty big tour. So they're making money with pretty big tours. And he's like, it's not worth it for me to drag these guys out of those great paying positions to take chances. And you know,
Right. You know, it comes down to it's funny. My mother is elderly, and she's having some health problems, but she's been a musician her whole life, and she says, Paul, she says the audience is going to tell you what they like,
mm,
and I just felt that it's so true that it, there's people who say, well, if you can go on the road, you don't have to be big in your own hometown. But if you can't be big in your own hometown and people don't like your stuff there, where it's free to promote to them, or not free, but it's a lot less expensive than going
yeah,
on the road,
sure,
well, then, you know, what do you have, anyways? And
true.
so it just makes so much sense. And plus, with social media and the web, you can reach people everywhere. So
Hmm.
I like his strategy. Why not build it up?
Yeah,
Get yourself to where you have some sort of a name. I mean, you see a lot of bands doing that where they really blow up through these videos.
yeah.
Then another band might ask you to come play on their tour,
Get
or
somebody's attention. Yep.
Yeah, or you could go to some places and there actually would be some people there, and then you
Right.
could get paid and cover the gas money and all of that, right? But when you go to a place and there's no one there, how's the club even going to pay you? What are they going to pay
Exactly.
you?
Exactly. Yeah. It's such a wacky freaking thing that's going on. It really is.
Well, you always have to keep hope and keep putting out good music, and so really, that's all you can do if you
That's
you know.
it. Just keep putting out stuff like Release the Crow. Things should be golden.
Well, wait till you hear the next couple. There's a bunch of songs on this album that are really cool. So
That's
we're
all.
very excited about it.
I can't wait. I can't freaking wait.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, what's the best? How about you guys? I mean, social media. You guys in tune with it? Are you doing a lot of it? I mean, I went through. I saw stuff, and is it one of them things like you guys do it because you have to, or are you guys really into it?
Well, we like it a lot, and so we definitely do Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Um, we're trying to look at getting into like TikTok.
I was just gonna. Go ahead. I'm gonna tell you another story, but go ahead.
Well, yeah. So everybody says to get into those things, and you want to, but it's like we were talking about before. So
Uh,
we have to go to our jobs, and then we have to write music and record music and rehearse for our shows and get all of that ready. So you have a little bit of time, but you know you could spend a career's worth of time on social media.
yeah, that's a
But
whole
so
nother full time job in itself.
yeah, so we definitely try to do it. Facebook is, people say, "Oh, that's for older people," and it is, but that's been where we've had the biggest following.
Mhm.
Instagram's cool, but all you can put is a picture on there. So I really haven't quite figured out how to promote very well on Instagram.
Yeah, and
Um,
the scary part is Instagram. A lot of the bands now, like that's their number one thing they depend on is Instagram. But you can put links now in the stories. You just can't put them on the post.
right, but then the links don't show up as real links. People have to copy and paste the link, and I'm like, well, why do they do that?
Right.
Um, and so Twitter's cool, and we like to get into that. And also, some people that I know we've talked about Spotify, that
Mhm.
you can make some money there, but that also, if you can get on the playlists, um,
That's the whole key to Spotify.
right. And so, we want to start doing that too. But it's funny, you have to be careful because even so, YouTube, I mean, personally, we've gone after like views on YouTube, but
Sure.
we've gone after like real viewers.
Hmm.
So you can just buy fake views.
Yeah.
And we've seen people that do that, where their video jump from 0 to 100,000 views overnight.
Hmm.
And you know that no one's watching, and that wasn't real people who like rock music.
Right.
And so, we have put some advertising behind stuff, but we're not just going to pay money to ring up the
For,
view counter. We would
exactly.
rather pay some money and reach out where we know that people can listen to our song, even if it's onesie twosies, and you find some guy or a girl who makes a comment and says, "Wow, hey, I'm new to your band, but I really like this."
Right.
That's what we want to do, is try
Hmm.
and get people to actually listen to our music and like our music instead of just some fake
Yeah.
view count.
That's the whole reason. All these artists now are doing the song a month is because of the Spotify playlist, the way it works. The way Spotify works, from what I was told recently, is if you're not releasing something like every 6 weeks, it's a lot harder to get on these playlists.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but that goes for social media in general. If it's,
Hmm.
it's
The
if you
whole
think
algorithm.
right, your page or whatever it is, it's almost like it's a TV station or a radio station or something where if you don't have continuous content,
Yep.
people aren't going to keep checking back.
Exactly.
Right. And so, we're trying to get there, but, again, we're completely independent
Mm-hmm.
at this point. And so we don't have management and that type of thing. And so, maybe we can get there with this new album where we can have some industry people help us. And so that's another thing is, reaching out if you're going to try to shop your
Mm-hmm.
stuff to labels or management companies,
Right.
or also to try and get into these festivals. I mean, they're awesome. We really have done well with one festival, the Blue Ridge Rock Festival.
Okay.
We're hopeful that we'll be back there, and we played that one in 2018 and 2019, and we're hopeful we'll be back there in 2023.
Okay.
But that's another thing that takes a lot of time is reaching out to agents, trying to book shows and get into these festivals. And so,
Right.
I'm not trying to make excuses, but it sounds like I am.
It's a lot of work. People don't understand.
And all of this is stuff that you pay for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the royalties we make off of our music is peanuts compared to what you spend to do the recordings and the
Exactly.
video. Right. So we're paying for stuff and having to work this extra job. And so, but it's great because you do it because you love it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you don't love it, then, you're really going to have a hard time because
you're going to hate it. If you don't love it, you're going to hate it.
Right. I tell kids I talk to all the time, I'm like, follow your dreams. I'm like, but make sure you have a backup plan. Make sure you have a way that you can get a job so that while you're pursuing your dreams, you have a roof over your head and,
Right.
Because it's like you said, it's just so tough. There's millions of bands out there, and there's a lot of good bands out there. So many good bands.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to get people's attention.
And that's the thing with the world of social media, Spotify, YouTube, etc. It's so great to be a musical artist on one hand, and on the other hand, it's so bad because, like you said, there's a million others out there doing the same exact thing, and everything's so easy to do now compared to when we were kids. Now everybody can do it, and everybody can get on YouTube, and everybody can get on Spotify, but can everybody get to the next level? Can anybody draw a crowd in a club? That's the next thing.
That's right. And it's just really, really tough. Even when you're, it's not only bands. So if you're trying to advertise on Facebook, I mean,
it's a nightmare.
There's all sorts of businesses and other events and places and, that are advertising too, that are competing for that same space.
Exactly.
So, but again, we do it because we love it. I mean, we've been doing this stuff for so long. This is in our blood. It's like when people say, well, why do you do that stuff? And we're like, well, that's what we do.
There you go.
And so, to us, it's not a matter of, oh, you're going to do it. We're just like, well, of course we're going to do it.
Could you actually picture yourself not doing it is the question.
No, that's the thing. Like, well, are you gonna quit at some point? Like some relatives, hey, Paul, you cut your hair. Are you gonna quit? I'm like, I'm too old to quit now.
I'm in. I can't go out now.
No, you might as well stamp my gravestone with a guitar and some drumsticks because I'm a rocker for life at this point.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, Paul, dude, this has been great catching up with you. When we go off, stick on. I want to talk to you. Where's the best place for everybody to go check out everything? Is it the website?
Yeah, I'd say Facebook, TubeFreeks, our website, and then the other social media platforms were there. Instagram, Twitter, Spotify. All of our stuff's on all of the Amazon Music, iTunes. All of those platforms. Just remember that TubeFreeks is spelled TUBEFREEKS. Freeks. So there's two E's in the word freaks. And so if you look it up without that, especially since we're not, like a big, huge band, then it may be harder to find.
Absolutely. Everybody go to YouTube and just type in "Release the Crow" Tube Freaks and turn it up and prepared to be blown away. Amazing, amazing freaking song. Telling you, top 5 song of 2022, right there.
Thank you,
This man
Bay.
was part of the problem for it.
Hey, and hang tight for the next ones. If you like that one, you're gonna like the next ones too, and they're different.
Cool. I
And
can't
so,
wait.
yeah, sounds good. And thank you so much for having me on, and
Oh, you're welcome, dude.
congratulations for Nashville. That's awesome, man. I see you still have your Flyers hat on though.
One of my friends sent it to me. They said, "Don't you dare put on a Nashville Predators hat."
Hey, man, you're from Philly. You can't be getting rid of the Flyers now.
Never, never.
That's right.
Flyers, Eagles for life, bleed green. Come on, stop.
There you go, man. Love it.
All right, man. Thanks, Paul. Hang tight. I want to talk to you. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. Check them out. Tube Freaks, Release the Crow.
Thank you, Bay. Appreciate it.